Hello and welcome, Rangers. I'm Joe, and here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Today on ZO Reviews, we've got episode number 3, where Tanya tries to fit in. And there are some good ideas here, although her first attempt at a boyfriend is a guy who tries to cheat on a test, which is a little funny, as high school tests basically mean nothing. You'll pass even if you don't put any answers down on paper. Just saying. I say that, and yet I was the student who always panicked and worried over the slightest answer that was wrong and overstudied the night before, and every night for about a month.
And I was the student that didn't have to study and aced all his tests.
The thing in this episode is there are some interesting ideas. For the most part, much as the acting on the part of some of the characters is good, Tanya's actress, she's quite good. The episode's just a little blasé at this point. The next episode is one centered on Rocky, and I actually enjoyed this one a lot more. Rocky's study partner and him are designing a video game for his computer science project. Weirdly for Rocky, who is normally a games addict, he just tosses down his controller and says, "It's nice, it's good," and starts to flirt with his partner, who's a pretty librarian type, but she's very not interested in him. And I think she realizes she's the rebound girl. And this just causes her to become icier and colder towards Rocky, whom you can see is really struggling with the absence of Aisha, and also Billy, because Billy is now busier over at the command center, not spending any time hanging out with the Rangers. So you can see that Rocky's kind of lost. Let's bear in mind he hasn't really fully connected with Kat yet, because she's a recent addition to the team as well. So you essentially have Kim, Billy, Aisha, who have all disappeared on him and are not really around. And the thing is, Rocky was probably one of the most social team members around. It's a little interesting because this is, I think, a long-term plot line for him, subplot for him. Before, he was the most confident member on the team. He was just almost annoying in being the little brother on the team, also the rational member, but now he's rattled. In terms of the girl, he was obviously hopeful that she would probably be as excitable and energetic as Aisha. But she is a perfectionist who just wants to work on the computer science project to get a scholarship. In turn, though, Rocky would normally do this kind of project with Billy, but she doesn't respond like Billy would. So you can see that he's at a loss there. Probably hopeful she would act like Billy, but she didn't. Even if it was early on Billy. She reacted in a cold way, in a different way than Billy would have. Later, when Adam teases him about it being true love, he says, "Don't make me hurl." So that it's a little evident that Rocky, deep down, is not really feeling it. And he only gets excited once there's the prospect of fighting some mecha putties. He's obviously just fishing for a fight. Not with Adam, but just he's fishing for some excitement because on one level he's bored because he doesn't have Aisha. He doesn't have Kim around, who was a bit like a baby sister and older sister at the same time to him. And of course, one of his new best mates, Billy, isn't around for him to spend time with. You can see that the character's at a loss and doesn't know where to go. He's directionless.
I've mentioned the ways he cope that would fall under addictions. He's not feeling them. It's like, yeah, the girl decided, the fighting game, we're gonna make it an educational game.
You just had Rocky who's just going, you killed it for me, as you said earlier. What I've also noticed is that Adam is really excited to have Tanya around. He's obviously very attracted. But for Rocky, who is very attached to Aisha, it looks like he's almost thinking, well, don't you miss Aisha? And you kind of have this undertone of Adam seeing it as, well, yeah, but she's not around. Might as well make the most of it. There's almost this different kind of attitude between the two. They're not reacting exactly like this, but you have Adam trying to make the most of a friendship and bond with Tanya, obviously trying to date her. And you have Rocky, on the other hand, he hasn't really bonded with her per se yet. He's obviously at a loss there because his girlfriend's off on another continent. Kim's not around. Tommy still has a purpose because he's obviously pen paling and in a long distance relationship with Kim. Tommy still has his center, yet the only one who seems lost is Rocky. There's not Kim, there's not Billy, and there's not Aisha. 3 of the characters that he was closest to. The only one, in a way, Rocky really has left is Tommy. Whereas, as much as he has Adam, the two seem to be going almost separate ways. With Adam pleased to have new teammates and new friends and whatnot, and Rocky is not thriving. Actually, he seems almost to be sulking and desolate. Rocky's a character who is never bored, and yet here he's utterly bored out of his skull. He's not interested, and even when he gets excited about combat, he's a little half-hearted about it. And at the end, when the girl says, "How about we just be friends?" He says, "Sure," but you can tell that he's not really going to hang out too much with her. They're going to be friendly, but not friends. and Rocky is once again adrift. So that this episode ended on a rather depressing note. I have to admit, it might be weird, but I liked that there was a depressing episode for the first time, almost since season 2, or even the movie. The movie had a bit of a depressing note. Yeah, I know people might say the Kim departure episode was depressing, but I found that more frustrating than anything else because of how poorly written it was. And yet, the movie had a few depressing scenes. It wasn't afraid to go into a dark place. This episode is really depressing in a way. So, first episode, I might just rate it a 1. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's below average.
I agree, a 1. You have your usual transfer student episode that happens often early on.
Carries it away from 0 to 3/4 star and onto a 1 is just Nakia just home running the acting and doing a great job. In the second episode here that we've reviewed in this review, I'm actually going to say it's a 2.3. I really enjoyed this.
I will say a 3. It's a really good story. We see Rocky getting a bit more introverted.
Which is weird for him because he's such an extrovert.
We see things going on in his head.
It's a very psychologically driven episode. Okay, you know what? I have to upgrade it, now that I think about it, to a 3 as well. You talked me into it. This is a great episode. I don't know what else to say. This is the best Zio episode so far. I know we're kind of down on the previous couple of episodes. Come on. After season 3, I think anyone would be a little depressed and a little reluctant to give us the slightest ground. But this episode has restored my faith. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Billy smashing an ooze monster. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.